Let's take a look at this print-on-demand e-commerce business that was recently listed for sale on Flippa with a buy it now asking price of $300,000. They describe it as a premium motorsport inspired apparel brand that is easy to manage and run. And since my cursor just kind of toggled that little pop-up on the profit multiple here is really appealing. A 1.1x profit multiple. That is incredibly, incredibly low. But some of you guys may have already caught this other detail. The site age is only 1 year old. So we'll come back to the valuation in a second. Let's unpack, though, what this business fundamentally is, does, and what we need to be aware of if we are interested in acquiring a business like this. First up is the print on demand aspect of it. Now, the title in the short description did not really describe that, but if we read through the listing here, it says the streamlined operations are supported by a print-on-demand model that simplifies order fulfillment by minimizing inventory management. And yes, all of that is true. If you're not familiar with print-on-demand, well, it's kind of as the name implies, as a customer orders it on the website, your website via API is connected to, or I should say is connected to via API, the supplier, your print-on-demand supplier, and then they print whatever it is that you're selling and ship it right out. So you don't have to carry any inventory. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It's basically get these things sold. Well, come up with designs, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, but come up with designs, get these things sold, they send off to your customers. Now, it's a motorsport inspired apparel brand. Let's just search that. Actually, let's include premium, because I'm thinking like leather jackets that old guys wear. But print on demand leather jackets may be kind of hard to fulfill. So here's what I'm seeing here. And yeah, these kind of shirts are something that I would associate with premium motorsport apparel. Now, one thing you might want to consider or look into if you're interested in this business is potential trademark infringements. That was the first thing that came to my mind when I was thinking of premium motorsport brand, honestly, because a lot of these brands will want to, or a lot of the resellers will want to incorporate brand logos of other brands, right? Such as in this one here, they've got KTM, which is a motorcycle manufacturer. Red Bull, we all know what Red Bull is. Here you've got Kawasaki, right? So these apparel items cannot include brands because if they do, that is typically trademark infringement. Now, there may be some legal ways to argue around that, but I would not want to cross paths in a legal dispute with Kawasaki, Red Bull, KTM, or any brand for that matter. I don't want to cross paths with anyone in a legal dispute. So I would not acquire a business that is in any way publishing or selling anything with a logo on it of anything. It's not just applicable to motorsport unless there's appropriate licensing here. And I can tell you that a business listed for sale on Flippa does not have that licensing. So bottom line here is check their designs and make sure that they are not selling apparel that has logo on it. Now, this one right here is something that is reflective of what could be sold print on demand legally. At least at a glimpse, I'm not seeing any, I'm not seeing any brand in there. Can't read that word, period, correct. That doesn't make any sense, but I don't know of that as a logo. And you can also get away with mentioning brand names in some way. That is something that you would need to explore with a trademark attorney or IP attorney if you were to get involved in that. But this doesn't seem to be a trademarked name. So that's something you could produce. Right, I'm not seeing anything else that looks too premium, and we don't know how premium is. Maybe they're just selling t-shirts like this. Okay, that looks to be acceptable. That looks to be acceptable with print on demand. Just always consider that with print on demand, because I see a lot of big print on demand businesses, but I would not touch them with a 10-foot pole. I would not even touch them with a 1 light year pole because they are just wide open and exposed to lawsuit liability or litigation liability. And indeed, they are genuinely or they're exposed to that because they are infringing on trademarks and it's a genuine claim. But sometimes those businesses get listed for sale. And I unfortunately feel sorry for whoever acquires them. Perhaps the person acquiring them is located in like China or something, somewhere where they're just not going to be exposed to any liability, so they just don't care. But yeah, it's not a business I would want to be in. Anytime you're looking at print on demand, always, always, always check to make sure their designs are not including trademarks, because it's not uncommon to see them. All right, now, assuming that they are not infringing on trademarks and they're selling products like this shirt right here or this one right here, and mind you, I don't see them as premium, but I don't also see any other products as premium here in this in this Google search. So we don't really know what the product is. You got to look at it and see just how premium it is. It may not be anything more than a shirt, a basic t-shirt. Moving on from that, let's talk about this line in here where they describe potential increases in revenue of 2 to 3 times could be achieved by transitioning to a drop ship based model that promotes exclusive monthly design. So they're saying you can increase revenue 2 to 3 times by holding, or not holding, but having somebody else drop ship the inventory. Well, it's kind of what you're doing already with print on demand, so I don't get what the drop ship element of it is. I think a better way of describing it, or what they're trying to describe, would be 3PL. You get a bunch of shirts made or whatever at a lower cost, and then fulfill the orders as you sell them, or send them out, because you're already fulfilling as you sell them. Send them out as you sell them. But then you ultimately have some inventory and a 3PL. I don't think that is going to increase revenue 2 to 3 times. I'm always very skeptical when I see suggestions of what you could do and by how much it would increase things in a business listing. Because if it's so easy to do and you could do it and this is the outcome of the return, why doesn't the seller just do it? So as a buyer, I completely disregard anything like this, and I need to come up with my own plan for how I am going to, or would, increase revenue in the business. I know that these things attract a lot of buyers, but as a buyer, you really can't give them any credence. You have to come up with your own plan and can't really bank on the estimates here the seller is giving you. Now, the other interesting thing in here is the margins, which they say are 15 to 20%. Those are not bad for a print-on-demand business, but they get even better considering this pre-statement here where it says current engagement and acquisition strategies rely heavily on paid advertising. So they're achieving a profit margin of 15 to 20% even after running paid ads, which is very, very, very good, because that means that there's money in the budget to spend on paid ads and directly acquire customers. It's not uncommon that you'll see a business listed for sale and it's just grown organically in some way, and it has a 15 to 20% margin. Well, yes, you're making 15 to 20%, not a horrible margin, but you have no room in there to spend money on customer acquisition. Here, they're acquiring customer acquisition by paid ads. It doesn't say which platform they are doing that on, but fundamentally, if you can acquire customers on one platform, you can find them and acquire them at about the same cost on another platform. There may be variations in that, but you can reasonably expect to do that. At least I personally feel that way, and that's been my experience. So I like seeing that. But that said, you also have to consider what you're getting here, and that is a business that really has no brand behind it. This is a direct response marketing ploy, like straight up. They run ads, they advertise, they sell their print-on-demand shirts, and life goes on. There's really not a brand behind this business, at least not yet, because it's not very old. Okay? So I guess that kind of ties into the whole valuation, considering the age of the business. And I think, well, I guess we'll talk about the valuation here, because then I'll talk about how or what I would really focus on to grow this business. Actually, before I get to that, if you're liking following along from this video here and you like studying and are interested in, if you like studying business listings, business models, online businesses, and if you're interested in acquiring an established and profitable online business, check out the acumenwire.com newsletter. It's a newsletter I run where I send out online businesses that were recently listed for sale along with my quick take on them. Send out a couple of them a week here, as you can see, and this one was actually included in it. And interestingly enough, I personally acquired a business that I included in the Acumen Wire. I included it in here. I liked the business, but I did not make an offer because I was busy at that time. And then a few months later, the business was still for sale. I circled back, bought it. It was one of them that was way back in one of the earlier editions of the Acumen Wire. I'll put a link below to acumenwire.com so you can head on over there and get signed up. Now, let's talk about the valuation. And we'll start first by taking a look at the profit multiple here at 1.1x. This is incredibly low, and I think that makes this listing very attractive, but things are kind of fuzzy. We see a starting bid price here at $90,000. We see a buy it now at $300,000. And we see a monthly profit of $18,730 per month. But we have not seen an annual revenue or profit number, and all of this is on a business that is only 1 year old. We need a little bit more context here, and fortunately, if we mouse over the profit multiple, we get a little bit more information in the pop-up, which says the multiple is calculated based on the current price divided by the total profit over the most recent 12 months. So the current price here would be the starting bid price at $90,000, as there have been no bids on this listing. It was just recently listed and there are 15 days left in the auction. So the profit multiple of 1.1x is based on this price here of $90,000. If you buy it for $90,000, you pay a 1.1x multiple. Now we can reverse the math on this and go 90,000 divided by 1.1 and see that over the last year, its first year in business, it made $81,818. Divide that by 12 to see the average monthly profit on a monthly basis at $6,818. And notice that is strikingly lower than the monthly profit that they have published here. So that would tell me that this monthly profit they have published here is either based on the most recent 3 months or maybe even shorter, maybe just the most recent month. I think for analysis purposes, it's important to focus on either the average monthly profit or the annualized number. We'll multiply that by 12 at $81,818. If I can remember that number, we'll calculate out a multiple for the buy it now number. So we'll do 300,000. Got the right amount of zeros there, divided by 81,818. And we can see that they're asking 3.66 monthly, or 3.66 annual multiple to buy it now. So how do I feel about this valuation here? Well, I think if you can get this at $90,000, it is a very good business. I do think it'll go a little bit more for this, but to really assume the valuation, you kind of need to put a price on what you're actually buying here, right? And what are you actually buying? Well, you are buying a pre-built e-commerce store that has print-on-demand set up. That's not too difficult to get done, but that is worth something, a few $1,000s. But more importantly here, you are buying an audience offer match, right? Like you are buying the designs of this branded apparel with an audience that will actually pay for it. Now, by nature, of course, you might be saying, hey, well, we could reverse engineer this whole business and just go out there and find suppliers and make similar designs, etc., like that, and start selling to that audience. Yes, you could. But this business has one other thing here that is often overlooked in the advertising, and that is they've actually got the conversion data that's being fed back to the algorithms and all of their analytics software that has that conversion. So the algorithms for the advertising platforms have kind of done the learning and have done the money burn and have reached the target audience, right? They know where the target audience is. So you get one step ahead, or a couple steps ahead, really, by buying this business. So there's something here, but now what you're not getting is you're not getting the brand value. I don't really think there's much brand value behind this. So if you're going to buy this business, you have to be prepared to build a brand, right? And that may be getting customers to share photos of themselves wearing the clothes or the apparel, and subsequently making this into a brand that people want, increasing the repeat customer rate, doing email marketing, things like that, getting people to come back and buy from the business with, or getting them to come back and buy from the business directly without running direct response ads. So, you know, I think the $300,000 number here is really reflective of a business that has at least built some kind of brand. So in my own personal experience here, I would not pay this $300,000 number. But as far as ultimately where it goes, in between the 90,000 and the 300,000, that is a pretty big range. This being a pretty short business, it wouldn't be too hard to duplicate. I think it is likely to go probably somewhere in the $150,000 to $200,000 range, somewhere around a 2 to low 2 multiple. Unless you get somebody in here that just is really eager to buy it. But anyone really experienced, I don't think, would pay much more than that, because, again, you're not buying a brand. You're essentially buying expedited direct response marketing with audience offer fit and some conversion data. So I'd be surprised if this does go for 300, but I think likely it'll be in the $150,000 to $200,000 range. On that note, guys, what do you think? Is there anything you feel like I missed out on? Is my valuation opinion out of line? Is it completely far-fetched? Do you think it'll go for more than the $150,000 to $200,000 range? Let me know in the comments below. And on that note, if you want more online business breakdowns and recently listed for sale online businesses that are established and profitable, head on over to acumenwire.com. I'll put the link below and sign up. I am calling it a wrap and signing off on that note.